mede wadu daily update TV so yɛnyɛ discussion bi wɔ ha. Yɛbɛkɔ akɔtie ɛnɛ no ɛwɔ Joy, yɛmfa credit ma Joy. Na ɛyɛ win from the presidency Felix Ofosu-Kwakye ɛna ne nsahyɛ ɔno secretary to the president Callistus Mahama. Na ne nyinaa ne sɛ yɛwɔ kurom ha na mpanyinfoɔ bi unknown ɛyɛ person bi anaasɛ unidentified person retwerɛ petition ɛkɔma His Excellency sɛ they want the Chief Justice to be removed. Mahama so jail as a president of the Republic, Ghana a democratic state, yenye bibia by autocracy ways. It or present a petition to the state council of state. Na ekodu hɔ no, that's I was saying for Baba near share petition the woman or Mosi and Chief Justice. Now that Chief Justice so actually let us say pursue who the woman. That's a fine case. But Mahama mano 10 days ultimatum 10 days say on farm Beka before to leave the office. Yeah, because Chief Justice a poem because your petition me and Sunday she have to leave. I say Mahama Sakeno. And Mahama is not going to do on his own a legal process no way. Or first ye kai enter my follow a second Salato say nipa back on a petition. The room Mrs. Saki Salato say no. Ɛnyɛ saa process no Mahama ɛfa so na ɔmo fa so. Sometimes because Mahama deɛ wayɛ no mo fada like Mahama is a pastor because process na ɔpɛ sɛ ɔde fa so ɔpɛ sɛ ɔma no fair hearing to no ɔma no 10 days sɛ Torkono deɛ ɔwɔ ka no maame nte ansa na biribi siesie abusua ɛnkɔtie Joy News ɛhɔ na ɛsaka information stay tuned.
Of that letter that we just secured from the Jubilee House. So these are content of the letter signed by the Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama. Part of it, where His Excellency has received 3 petitions from 3 individuals requesting your removal as Chief Justice. 2 are dated 14 February 2025, and the third one is dated 17th March. Copies of these 3 petitions attached to that letter written to the Chief Justice, if you like. And I'm just bringing you part of the correspondence between the President and the Chief Justice. Now, following receipt of these petitions, according to the letter to the Chief Justice, on March 24th, His Excellency, the President Mahama, wrote to the Chairman of the Council of State, forwarding the petitions and informing the Council that in accordance with the consultation process required under Article 146, it intends, as an initial step, to send the regime since this week. Now, President Mahama has formally directed Chief Justice Torkono to submit an initial response within 10 days to 3 petitions seeking a removal from office. The directive, issued in a letter signed by Callistus Mahama, Secretary to the President, comes after 3 individuals lodged petitions on February 14, March 17, accusing the Chief Justice of misconduct and abuse of power. The letter stated on March 24, 2025, that's to the President Mahama, wrote to the Chairman of the Council of State, Edward Dowaja, seeking advice on a petition in line with Article 146 of the Constitution. Following the Council of State approval of March 27, the petition were forwarded to the Chief Justice for her response. Let me bring you details of that letter that we just secured from the Jubilee House. So these are content of the letter signed by the Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama. Part of it, where His Excellency has received 3 petitions from 3 individuals requesting your removal as Chief Justice. 2 are dated 14 February 2025, and the third one is dated 17th March. Copies of these 3 petitions attached to that letter written to the Chief Justice, if you like. And I'm just bringing you part of the correspondence between the President and the Chief Justice. Now, following receipt of these petitions, according to the letter to the Chief Justice, on March 24th, His Excellency, the President Mahama, wrote to the Chairman of the Council of State, forwarding the petitions and informing the Council that in accordance with the consultation process required under Article 146, it intends, as an initial step to send the petition to you for your preliminary comments or response. And so on March 27th, just this week, His Excellency received responses from the chairman of the Council of States consenting to this request. Copies of these letters are also attached. Unfortunately, we don't have those attachments for you. Now, the president, however, knows with disappointment that your letter of 27th March, that's yesterday, addressed to him, and this is in reference to the Chief Justice, Madam Torkono, was circulating on social media even before he could review its content. The letter was reportedly shared as an attachment to another letter you wrote to the President of the Supreme Court, the President of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, and the President of the Ghana Bar Association. His Excellency wishes to assure you that due process will be followed in handling this matter and that you will be given full and fair opportunity to be heard. And that's how, and accordingly, you respectfully requested to submit your preliminary response to the petition within 10 days of receipt of this letter to facilitate further consultation between His Excellency and the Council of State. So this is the letter. This is a letter that the President, through his secretary, Dr. Mahama, wrote to the Chief Justice, Madam Torkono. Let me bring in governance expert, Professor Bafo Ajimendua, on this developing story. Prof, good afternoon, welcome to the pause. Now, the President says he's gotten word from the Council of State, and he's done so by writing to the Chief Justice and asking that she respond to these concerns, the petition seeking a removal within 10 days. Does it, first of all, let me seek your opinion on how this has played out in the media space. And Prof, if you can kindly unmute for me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great.
I'm very happy that the President finally has come out with this latest letter. Because, as you know, once this case began, there have been all kinds of commentary by legal experts. Most of the comments are contradictory, others reinforce others. All the same, we have never known, because it's just like in economics. If you pose one economic question and bring 10 economists, you are most likely to get 10 responses.
Right.
So in the same way, we are getting the legal experts giving the opinions. And I'm no lawyer in this matter, so I won't pretend to be one here. But I think what is significant, though, is that the President has quickly rectified what was a major concern to most governance people. That is to say, if the accused, in this case the Chief Justice, will be given a fair hearing. Because as we know in law, whoever is accused of something should have the right to respond.
Right.
So before even establishing the prima facie, it's important that the accused is heard. So in this case, I think the President has really done well by issuing the latest letter and submitting the copies of the petitions to the Chief Justice. And that satisfied a lot of people in this matter.
The Chief Justice yesterday wrote to the President demanding that at least she's given a copy of the petition against her. As far as the Constitution is concerned, was she right to request that, or the steps taken by the President were what it ought to be?
You know, according to the constitutional lawyers, the President is not obliged to provide anything. But you should know your charges. You should know the reasons why you're accused. Again, we have some history here. You recall that even before the elections, there was a petition against the Chief Justice, and the then President, Akufo-Addo, decided to respond to the petitioner that he sees no merit in the petition for him to proceed with the process of submitting to the Council of State. That was the discretion he chose, because the Constitution does not specifically require a president to do that. But in this case, I think President Mahama has responded quite, decently in responding to the question of fairness. So I think it's a great step forward. And it is this discretionary power for a president, that is the lacuna in this whole process. And whether the attempt to revise the constitution will address this or not, I do not know. But certainly, I think this case is raising all kinds of very interesting and important questions about our governance structure and whether presidents should continue to appoint justices of the Supreme Court, if in fact the court is supposed to be independent. So all these things are being thrown at us, and it's a challenge for us to find the kinds of responses that will help us to create a system that is clear to all and maybe removing the discretionary powers given to the president to some minimum so that there will be no confusion about how to act when we are faced with this kind of situation.
The secrecy that the Constitution attached to this particular provision, and then you go into the president's letter to the chief appointed that he is disappointed that the Chief Justice letter of 27th March 2025 addressed to him was circulating on social media even before he could review its content. The letter was reportedly shared as an attachment to another letter you wrote to the President of the Supreme Court, the President of the Bar Association, magistrates, and therefore we are constrained to mark each page of the attachment to this letter restricted. So clearly, in terms of secrecy, the President was not happy that the Chief Justice letter got leaked in the media. It's unclear how that happened. And he says that because of this, I'm constrained to restrict this particular correspondence to you as well.
Yes, the president is right, very right. But you know what? The Chief Justice did not start this whole publicity about it. When the president submitted his request to the Council of State, at which point a prima facie case has not been established, I think the process should have been confidential until it's established that, in fact, there are legitimate reasons for the Chief Justice to respond. But before that could happen, it was all over the media. So in that respect, even though I really appreciate the president raising the issue of confidentiality of this process, I wish he had come earlier before we got to this point. So now, look, he's rectifying it, and it is true, I agree with him, that this should have been confidential until the point where we think the Chief Justice has questions to answer. What we are dealing with here, we are not dealing with Bafo Ajimabia, who is a non-entity in the society.
Right.
We are dealing with the institutional head that is ranked at least roughly third in our governance structure. After the executive, the legislature is the Chief Justice. So anything concerning this, until facts, evidence and facts are established, you do not go public to embarrass anybody. Look, right now we are talking about two things. We have risked certain security concerning this whole process. We have exposed the Chief Justice to certain things. Reputational risk has been involved here. So the president is right that this whole process should have been kept under wraps until it's clear that the Chief Justice has some serious questions to answer before perhaps becoming public. But of course, if he leaks somewhere, that's a different story. So I do like the president's decision to include in his letter the necessity for keeping these things confidential until such a time that is important for the public to know. Because as I say, there are some risks here. Suppose at the end of the process, the Chief Justice is exonerated by the process. Suppose it comes to that. What happens? Meanwhile, her reputation will have been scarred. And then also her credibility as a Chief Justice will have been damaged. And that is not good for us as a nation. So I think the issue of confidentiality that the president has raised is a very important one. And I'm hoping that going forward, all parties in this, principal parties, the executive, the judiciary, and others, and especially those of us in the public domain commenting on these matters, should respect that so that we do not needlessly taint the reputation and image of our institutions.
Prof, just some education again. The concluding part of this letter signed by the Secretary to the President says, His Excellency wishes to assure you that due process will be followed in handling this matter and that you will be given a full and fair opportunity to be heard. Accordingly, you are respectfully requested to submit your preliminary response to the petitions within 10 days of receipt of this letter to facilitate further consultation between His Excellency and the Council of State. Does this paragraph suggest that the Council of State advice to the President was to the effect that the CJ has questions to answer?
It's hard to impute that to this, what you just read. And nobody has access to what the Council of State has given to the President. But certainly reading this note, first, the President is affirming his commitment to the rule of law in this matter, ensuring that there is fairness, that the Chief Justice is treated fairly according to the laws, and that is great. Secondly, getting a response from the from the Council of State, may also suggest that the President has gotten additional information that has made it necessary for him to even ask for the Chief Justice to now submit a response to it. So I think at the highest levels, I can sense some kind of interaction, certain private consultations between the executive, the President, and the Council of State. And that's why it's supposed to be. That consultation should have ensued before people like us getting to know and playing football with it in the public domain, you see. So I think that's a good thing the President has done. And so if he's assuring the Chief Justice of giving her fair hearing and all, that is exactly what it's supposed to be. I don't think people who are jumping the boat and concluding that the Chief Justice should be dismissed. I'm glad the President is not listening to those comments. Let the process ensue. Let the Chief Justice present her case. And then they are all lawyers. They will know how the process will end. And then we are all happy in the country. So I think the President is taking the right steps at this point, putting brakes on what was supposed to be confidential but now has become public. That is a good step. And secondly, assuring the Chief Justice that, look, they are going to be given a fair hearing. That's also great. So we cannot now wait for the process as prescribed by the Constitution, how the process proceeds and ends.
Finally, before I let you go, I'm bringing in other lawyers, and hopefully we'll also bring in the government's communication minister, if you like, Minister of State in charge of government communication, Felix Kwachofos, who will join us pretty shortly. But Prof, in terms of good governance and also detaching political feelings to some of these things, I mean, the way this thing has played out in the space, what is your own reading into this? Some are suggesting that it is just an attempt by the NDC administration to remove the Chief Justice who was appointed during the...
Blurring the separation of powers between these three institutions of government.